Okay, so I'm going to do a play test for Dulce Et. I've changed the rules recently, so before it was a timed game, but I think that was a little bit too... The pressure wasn't right. It sort of encouraged too much sort of giggling and laughter during play. So now it's much more, it's about lives, it's about mistakes you make, rather than just being sort of under time pressure. So for our first movement phase, we want to get one doctor to each patient. We obviously want two doctors over here with Bert, or two people over here with Bert. I'm going to try and make one of those two people Sally, because she's the best at comforting patients, and we'll leave Inga and Jane in here to hopefully pick up pills from the dispensary. So to move units in Dulce Et, you take a marker and you mark dots on the playing surface. You then put your thumb over that dot, both hands, and then you can use your hands and fingers to actually move things around the table. I already marked the dots here for this round, one here, one there. You mustn't move another miniature, and the mini that you're moving mustn't cross any black lines, or those count as errors and you'll lose a life. We've got 3 lives in this standard mode, which means we can take about 2 mistakes if we're otherwise relatively efficient. Oh, sorry, he shouldn't be on the table for setup, so we'll put more like that. If you're relatively efficient, you can get by with 2 mistakes, but you know, we'll see. Obviously, you want to keep that to a minimum. Okay, so first of all, I'm just clear a little bit of space before we start moving. I'm going to move this doctor up here to take care of Jack. I've not left a lot of room for Sally to get by, but we'll figure that out in a second. Yeah, let's see if we can get Sally through first. That gap is too small. So Sally is... Am I going to risk moving the doctor back again and possibly making it out? Let's just move this guy here, because... Okay, that's okay. We didn't cross the line. Let's move Sally round. Okay, so we've lost a life. So the game is much more about taking care and being under pressure in that way, and it's surprising how difficult it is to avoid making a mistake. Actually, it feels like it's totally under your own power, but it is not that simple. Okay, so having made a mistake, we put our hands flat on the table and we look up into the air and we recite, "My friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est, pro patria more." And then we can return to what we were doing, which in this instance is trying to move around. So just going to pop Sally in there for the moment and then move the doctor up around. So it's okay moving Sally because this is a movement phase. It's the patients that we must not move. I gotta say, I'm happy with how, although this might look sort of weird and awkward, it is incredibly tense knowing that you can't make really, you know, one more mistake and I would be in pretty serious trouble on this run. And the tension of that, no, we didn't cross the line, we didn't cross the line, is quite significant. Okay, so everybody is in place for the movement phase. Sorry, I'll just go through the various ailments. So Jack here is one-armed, so you have to treat him from his strong side, which, because I'm right-handed, is his right-hand side. Mark has dysentery, which means he has to be cured last, and Bert is blind, which means that he requires 2 staff in order to be interacted with. They've also got their shell shock ailments. Bert has amnesia, which means you have to re-roll successes if he's shell shocked. Mark has hypersensitivity, which means that if he's shell shocked, you have to repeat your interact with him. And I'm just going to nudge to remind myself of what we've got. So Jack has tinnitus, so you're at -1 to tests if he's shell shocked. Whew. Right, okay. That's going to be a little tight for the interact. So I'm going to do our interacts. I'm going to start with Bert being diagnosed. So I have to take a pen in my weak hand, which for me is my left hand. And we start by drawing around stuff, doing the interact. Now, the rule is... Again, no nudging minis while you're doing this, and green lines and black lines can't cross lines of a similar colour. So I can go fairly wide, but it makes future diagnoses difficult, and obviously here, where we've got a quite tight gap between Sally and the Dr. James, if I go too wide, it's going to make diagnosing with James very, very difficult. So... And if you happen to be ambidextrous, there's definitely a major advantage for you in this game, because I'm generally not too bad with my offhand, but this is not easy. Okay, so we start with the green line for the interact. We come across with the black line to the subject of the interaction, in this case the patient, and then for a patient we have to draw a line around the patient with the pen not leaving the mini, but you can use your other hand to secure the mini while doing that. So it's going to go like that, and we start from the black line going round, keeping it continuous, or ending up with a continuous line rather, touching the mini at all times. Red lines can cross red lines, because otherwise after your first interact you'd be in serious trouble. Okay, so we have successfully interacted with Bert. So we're going to try and make our diagnosis using the doctor. So the doctor in question here is Sam. Sam rolls a d6. He gains an exhaustion token, so it's one of these guys, so he'll have to go back to the mess if we want him to make a future diagnosis. We take an EQ test, which is rolling a d6, looking for the dice's highest value, and it's on his treatment, so we get to add +3 to the dice. So 5 + 3 is 8, which is equal to or over the highest value of the dice, which is 6. So that's a successful diagnosis. So we're going to roll to see which sort of pill Bert needs. Bert needs a square green pill. So I'm just going to note that quickly by doing that. I will say, if you're using Sharpies on an A4 piece of paper, put something underneath the paper, because otherwise it will run straight through and stain your table underneath. Okay, Bert has been diagnosed, so we're going to go on to trying to diagnose Mark with his dysentery. So again, I'm going to take the pen in the offside hand and clear these dice out of the way. Okay, move round. is... It is shocking how little control when you get detailed in on an offhand, and it doesn't help that even if I was using the correct hand, this would be a tricky thing to get right, I think. Yeah. I am happy with the tension this game creates. Oh my. Oh, okay. Whew. Right, that's that completed. So, we'll run across to the patient for the diagnosis. And again, red pen. Anchor the patient. Starting from the black line. Touching the patient at all times as we go around. Okay, whew. So that's a successful interact, and we will roll for James to attempt a diagnosis. Now James is on a D10. He's still adding 3 to his roll, so we can give him his exhaustion token for attempting a diagnosis. Still adding 3 to the roll, but obviously his odds are considerably lower being successful, but let's have a look. So 4 plus 3 is 7, which is not equal to or above the 10 required. So that is a failed diagnosis. So a few things that happen. Mark's hypersensitivity kicks in from his shell shock. So future interacts will be more difficult. And the diagnosis fails. So we don't know what pill he needs. We'll need to re-diagnose on a future turn. Okay, now we can make the nurse interact, so they can try and pick up the 2 pills that we have identified. It's kind of okay that Mark failed his diagnosis, because with his dysentery he has to be cured last anyway, so this isn't the most inefficient thing in the world. So, nursey, 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 nursey. Boop. And cross to the dispensary. So we can touch the black lines as we're going round, but we must not cross them. So because Inga here is at the back, I'm gonna have her try and pick up Jack's pill so that Jane can move forwards and try and do Bert's pill. So that means we need blue, and we need to fill in the outline of the pill in blue. Again, without going over the line. Don't have to use a big thick nibbed pen for this. You could attempt it with something finer, but I'm figuring bigger marker is quicker, although I think maybe it's less room for error. But as with all solo games, there's a certain amount of your choice as to how tight you are on yourself. So Inga picks up her pill. Okay, and then end of the round we lose one of our lives. So we're okay so long as we've got a life to lose, as it were. Okay, so new round. We want the patient, so doctors, and particularly Sam, our best diagnoser, to go back to the mess so he can remove his exhaustion. We just need one other person. No, because Mark can be single treated. So really, we can just get Sam to some R&R, and then Doctors James and Peter, we might get away with not needing them. But I might at least sort out Peter here in case Sam's diagnosis, second diagnosis fails. We'll have Sally try to treat Mark's hypersensitivity, and we'll try and get Inga and Jane in to apply the pills to Bert and Jack. So I'm going to keep the little dots from last time. They seemed relatively efficient for me. So oh. May have to adjust the printout here because it doesn't look like there's enough room to get the base past the mess table, but we'll sort that out later. So for Sally, in order to be able to deal with the hypersensitivity, she needs to be somewhere that I can at least draw around to without crossing a green line. So that's a big green line, so I'm going to actually stay in it for her. But for now, let's get James can get one out of the way and stand in the corner in disgrace because his diagnosis skills are not up there. He's no Dr. House. Okay, come on, Peter. Negotiate around the patients. Get through the doorway. Okay. Yep, that's all okay. Let's put, as I say, back into that green circle. Oh, wait. No, we need to double interact in order to treat Bert. So, what I'm going to do, let's say, we don't need to not have an exhaustion token in order to support another action, certainly. So, James can move up here. Can move around here with Peter. Give me a little bit of room, please. We will have nurse come around. Ready to treat Bert. Okay, we've got to pass each other here. Have we got enough room to do that? Crossing the line, not crossing the line. Yep, okay, go away with that. It is peculiar how when you have... Oh, that's going to be so hard to trace around without crossing the green line. Okay. Yeah, it's peculiar how when you have your your hands anchored like this, your hands sort of react in strange and sort of reflexive ways. Right, we're going to go for some distant treatment and comforting here. So first of all, let's deal with the mess in order to get rid of these exhaustion tokens on these two. Okay. Okay, so that's gotten rid of Peter's exhaustion token, so he'll be able to make a diagnosis in the future. Okay, so that means I've spent my last life, so we're going to fail this run, because even though we can treat Jack and Bert and we can clear Mark's shell shock, we'll spend a life at the end of the round. And when you need to spend a life and you don't have any, that's when you fail. So we can't possibly get Mark diagnosed and Tret. So I think the number of lives is a little tight, because I didn't make a massive number of mistakes, and I did make a few nudges that that were 50-50, but I went sort of light on myself because this is just a playtest through. So I think I'm going to increase the number of lives that are available, but the game fundamentally, I think, works just the way I want it to. It's incredibly tense going around the outlines, yeah, and it's close and it's tight, and there's a lot of action in the ward and less outside of it. So it's doing the things that I want it to do. I'm just going to complete a round so that we can show some treatment. Typical that in order to show the treatment, I should go through the procedure of losing the life, which is putting your hands flat on the table and reciting, "My friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory the old lie, Dulce Et decorum est, pro patria more." And we'll complete this diagnosis, even if I go, because I've already lost, even if I go over the line, I'll just complete this. So we can do a treatment and we'll do a quick comforting for Mark, so we can see how everything works. So ironically, with the pressure off of having failed, other than the nudge, that was a pretty good circling. And again, we connect up for the interact. We go around the patient for the interact. So red lines can go across any lines you like because it's very tight around the patient. Then, in order to perform the treatment, we discard the pill token from Jane, and we do an IQ test of their treatment. So in the case of Jane, it's rolling a d12. No additional, but we need 7 or more. So let's see. Plenty. So we have at least cured Bert's problem with blindness. I don't know that we've cured his blindness, but we've at least Tret whatever it was that was going to make things worse. Let's put it that way. And we'll do, because it's quite simple, sorting out the hypersensitivity. So Mark has his hypersensitivity from the failed interact, so going to go round green, pop the interact over, there we go, run around. So in order to comfort Mark for his hypersensitivity, we need to do an interact, but because he has hypersensitivity, any interact has to be repeated, which is why I went a little wide on the green outline here, because the first one was the easy one, the second one would have to go inside the circle. So, oop, oop, oop. I don't know how I feel about nudging during this, actually. Okay, that's because I'm not putting myself under pressure because I know I failed the run. But it is... yeah. No, I think I'm happy with it. It is about actually taking care. I don't want to make it so you don't need to take care, because I'm not taking care, because I'm just showing, yeah, there you go, that's some carelessness right there. So I'm just showing how the last few abilities work. So then Sally, in order to make the treatment, is going to make an EQ test on practicality. And the reason we picked Sally is she's rolling a D4 with +3 to the roll, needing a 4 or more. So obviously she can't fail on her practicality EQ test. She is very practical in her emotional intelligence. So even on a 1, +3 is a 4. So Mark's hypersensitivity is cured. I'm picking up with my left hand automatically now. And so at the end of the round, we lose our last life. So I could have tried treating Jack, but it wouldn't have been necessary. And just say, because we've got Inga all the way over here, the treatment would run by like so, and then we would take the back line all the way over, and we'd take the circle round and then roll for the treatment. Yeah, so I think the lives are pretty tight. That obviously, this is a play test. I haven't played the game a massive number of times, so I'm hardly an expert. But if we got Jack treated, we would next turn have to get Mark diagnosed and pick up his pill, and the turn after that treat him. So given that we failed at this point, we would have needed a minimum of 2, well, one more turn. So 1 more life would give us 1 more turn to treat him, to diagnose him and get the pill. 2 more lives would give him, give us a chance to treat him, and 3 more lives would actually let us make some mistakes, because this is meant to be standard mode. This is not meant to be the sort of the hard mode. So I think 6 lives for standard mode on this scenario, and then we'll adjust it around accordingly. So I wanted to do like easy, standard, hard, and war mode, and war mode being like you need to not only play completely perfectly, you're going around things and not nudging them and not making errors, but you would need your dice roll to come out exactly perfect. So I think I'm going to leave that in, but I think 3 lives would make an appropriate hard mode, actually, because at the moment I've got it on 1 life, because technically you can do this on 1 life. If you diagnose everybody and pick up the pills on the first round, you can come in and treat everybody on the second round with 0 mistakes, and 0 rolls. So I think, yeah, I think I'll make that war mode, because the moment is war mode is 2 ailments and 3 lives. I think I'll make it 1 life and 1 ailment. So war mode basically is 2 turns, everything going exactly perfectly. Not just you, but you have to be lucky as well, which I think is appropriate to the theme. 3 lives for hard mode, 6 for standard mode, and we could go up to like 8 for easy mode. And then I think that's, yeah, I think that's pretty solid. I'm happy with that. The effect is of playing is just what I want it to be. It's close, it's tense, surprisingly claustrophobic. Everything you do feels tight and difficult, and nothing seems trivial. I like the way the outlines and overlines and moving back and forth around each other and getting each other's way is great. It really makes it feel tight and close, and like you're in each other's faces and the faces of your own staff and such like, and having to be careful around the patients. Yeah, it's just right. Absolutely just right. Like I say, I've playtested it a couple of times before, but that was with the timed mode. So I'm still not good at it. But this is about where I think it should be. Okay, so that's a playtest of Dulce Et. I'm really happy with the game. I'm quite proud of sort of the unusual systems and techniques it's using to play with. This is also one of the things I quite like for it is that when you take the minis off at the end of the game, you get this sort of detritus of the game. It's like at the end of a medical drama where they clear the ER and there's like gauze and tape and discarded gowns and gloves on the floor. I like this sort of leftover effect at the end of things. Yes, so yeah, really happy with that. Happy with Dulce Et as it's working. Please check it out, give it a play through. Let me know. I'd love some feedback on it. Love to know what people think of it. You really just need to print out a couple of pieces of paper, and obviously it's great if you can have the Wargames Atlantic minis, but any minis with sort of a base that size. Do you fit past that? Okay, so I'm going to have to make the mess table smaller or the mess bigger, because it is not possible to get through there. If you're curious, these are for a scenario where the supplies are being attacked by wolves displaced by the war, so you need to go in, pick up bullets from the armory, and then deal with the targets. Okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, please check out Dulce Et. Please check out the other games in the One Box Challenge on the Discord. And yes, please give me some feedback. I would love some feedback on this. Okay, thanks and goodbye. Bye-bye.